Other factors which affect the distribution of population in the world are social factors, that is, places with better housing facilities, educational institutions and health facilities have more number of people living. For example, Pune in India. Then the cultural and religious sanction of a place also determine the number of people living. For example, in India, if I talk of Varanasi or if I talk of Jerusalem or the Vatican City, because of their religious sanctity, there are more number of people living in these cities. Next is the economic factor. When the people get employment, when there is economic stability at a place, that is the time more number of people flock to a place. The best example can be of Osaka in Japan, which is called as the Manchester of Japan, that there are more number of people living at Osaka. Next we move on to population change. Now what is population change? Simply, it is the change which takes place in the number of people at a particular time. That is, whether the population has increased or decreased, the change which has occurred is called as the population change. Which factors in fact make the change in the population will be seen by us, but let's see first of all the trend in the change of the population. Till 1800, we see that there was a steady rise in the population. That is, the population neither increased too much nor did it decrease. That is, the number of birth rate and the death rate actually were such that the population saw a very steady rise. But in the year 1820, suddenly we see that there were 1 billion people living in the world. Unexpectedly, in the year 1970, the population increased to 3 billion. Now this boom in the population, if I call it, was because of the fact that people now had better medical facilities, for which the number of people who died were less as compared to the number of people who were born. So this brought about a great change in the population ratio of the world, because the natural disasters or other disasters besides the death rate started declining, and thus the population started shooting up. When I talk of the change in the population, there are various terms which you must understand, and those are, first of all, what is a birth rate? As I was saying, birth rate, death rate. Birth rate means the number of live births per 1,000 people. Death rate, number of deaths per 1,000 people. Then the other factor which can actually change the population is the migration. And migration means when the people move from one place to another place, or rather from one country to another country, is called as the migration. So what is the natural growth rate of a country? It is in fact the difference in the birth rate and the death rate which counts the natural growth rate. So when you are talking of the population, you must know the birth rate, death rate, migration and the natural growth rate. I will quickly go through it. Number of live births per 1,000 is the birth rate. Number of deaths per 1,000 is the death rate. Number of people moving from one place to another or one country to another is migration. And natural growth rate is the difference between the birth rate and the death rate of a country.